Welcome to episode 66 of the 476ers podcast. Today we're going to talk about the Charlotte-Philadelphia game from yesterday, so stay tuned.
Yo. Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 476ers podcast. Episode 66. We're going to talk about yesterday's Charlotte game. So, how is everyone? Hopefully 2021 is treating you as good as it's treating me, which it's average. I said nothing bad has happened. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm going to act like anything bad has happened. Nothing's bad is happening other than I came in this bitch with COVID roaring, and I'm maybe going to go out this bitch with COVID roaring. I'm joking. That's not funny. So we're going to talk about yesterday's Charlotte game. Great game. Let me change this screen here real quick. I'm sorry. Yeah, great game. Great game. I don't remember having two back-to-back games like this in a really, really long time. Two games where, we beat the Magic handedly, and then we come in against Charlotte. We beat them handedly. I think that really speaks volumes about not only the guys on the team, who I believe, as you hear me talk about all the time, right? Having consistency in the lineup, having comfort among your peers, and what's the continuity? I'm sorry. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm here going with every other word but continuity. Having continuity goes such a long way, right? Where when you have your core guys who know each other, right? Who have played together now for a few years, everything gets a little bit easier. You know what I mean? So I think that does speak a bit to Joe, Toby, and Ben, even Shake, who's been here for a bit. That when these guys are playing together, they kind of, know each other's wants and everything like that. Even though it seemed to take a while, Toby really, it took Toby, I think it took Toby a while. It takes, and Ben still, Ben and Joe still run into each other. No one is to blame or not to blame, but I think that the last two games are the best Toby has looked with Ben and Joe on the court at the same time. For a long time, that wasn't the case. Over the last 2 years, Toby has struggled mightily when he's playing with Ben and Joe. And then when Al was in the mix, it even got worse at times. So this is the best 2-game stretch I think Toby's had here. You know what I mean? With Ben and Joe. Because last year there was the Clippers game, and I think the next game too. I think he had like a good 3-game stretch when it was Shake and Toby starting essentially together with no Ben and Joe. And Toby was pretty much free to do whatever he wanted. He had the comfort he had the comfort of the green light. And he had done well at that time, but with Ben and Joe on the court, it had not been that case. So where should we begin here? I'm going to start with the MVP. Listen, I'm starting with the MVP. Every game we start with the MVP. I don't really give a shit anything who says what. We're going to start with Joe. Joe yesterday, down in scoring. Yesterday was his least of the season. Was his least, like, for the casual fan, his not worst game, because that sounds like he had a bad game, right? That sounds negative. So he didn't have a bad game at all, but it was his least impressive statistical game. You know what I mean? He finished with 19 points and 14 rebounds. He has 1 block, 5 turnovers. We'll talk about that in a second. 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. And that doesn't tell any of the story of Joe. If all you're doing is looking at box scores and trying to figure out who had the best game on our team, the best game on our team, you're not really getting the full scope of the story. You know what I mean? Even you might look at Toby's numbers and say Toby played better than Seth, and maybe he did. I would say it's debatable, right? Toby played great, and Seth played great, but really to watch, you would see how impressive Seth looked, for example. But we're going too far ahead. Joe played amazing. Joe's defense yesterday, and I meant to look this up before I came on here, and I forgot to, and that's my fault. That's me not going the extra mile, right? I'm not going that green mile like Tom Hanks. And rest in peace to what's his face. I'm sorry. Oh, that's so disrespectful. I called him what's his face. Anyway, the point is, Joe's defense yesterday was wild. Saying that he only had 1 steal and 1 block doesn't even tell. It just doesn't tell the story. You know what I mean? There was one great play in the fourth quarter that Ben gets a steal. Ben intercepts a pass. Who is this? I keep forgetting this fucking guy's name. They're one of their backup bigs, Jalen McDaniels. That's it. Jalen McDaniels kind of leaks ahead almost on a fast break. Joe Joe is coming a little bit behind him. Jalen McDaniels catches the ball, takes 2 steps, and Joe is already there. And Jalen has to pass it out at that point, and he passes it. Ben is right there to get the steal. Now, that's a good play by Ben for sure, to read that pass and immediately get that steal and force that turnover. But that doesn't tell the story that Joe was there too. Joe is the one who actually forces the turnover, because if Joe's not there, Jalen goes up. Or if it's any lesser big man, Jalen goes right up. He finishes it, because Joe's defense is there, and because he's in a position that leaves McDaniels in a very innocuous position. He has to pass it out, and the only pass to make is that pass that gets stolen. There is at least 2 or 3 plays that come to mind of Joe forcing turnovers like that. There are 2 to 3 plays. I mean, even the one block that gets counted, who does he block? He blocks who does he block? There's one play where I don't think he gets a block. I mean, he pretty much – it looks like he if it's not 3 blocks in one play, he alters 3 different shots in one play where they keep ending up with offensive rebounds. And he alters 3 different shots that miss, and they come away with nothing. You know what I mean? Ball deflections is what I wanted to look up, because I couldn't even tell you how many passes he deflected. Passes from the post outside, just getting his hands on any ball he could find. You know what I mean? That's what she said. Getting his hand on everything, tipping any pass that comes his way. I mean, Joe was extreme. I think that was his most active defensive game. There was the play of Terry Rozier, which is, probably going to be looked at, when you're talking about good defense, where Terry tries to step back 3. Terry's finished. I mean, listen, Terry goes off on us. It's what he does. There's nothing new. He's been doing that since Boston. But Terry tries a sidestep 3-pointer on Joe. Usually you have a big man out there. You have him at your mercy if you're a guard. But we've seen Joe guard the perimeter a million times before and play incredible defense. And Joe gets a great contest on Terry. Terry short arms it, and it's a miss. There's just a ton of defensive plays that Joe makes yesterday that won't show up in any box score. But if you watch the game, you see exactly why Joe is our MVP. You know what I mean? He is our MVP. He is first team all NBA, first team all defense right now. His defense has been incredible through the first few games. Yesterday's no difference. We are the best defensive team in the NBA. Our defensive rating coming into yesterday is going to go up a little bit, but coming into yesterday's game, our defensive rating was a 96, the only sub-100 defensive rating. And if you remember what I talked about offensive rating, defensive rating is the same thing, just on the other side. It's how many points do you give up per 100 possessions. That means that we are giving up 0.96 points per possession right now. Which is very low, right? That's very low. It's just like I talked about in the previous episode. So our defense right now has been incredible. We're back to that 2-year ago defense, that level of defense. Whereas last year our defense wasn't good. This year our defense has been phenomenal. And unless you have a big man, in reality, unless you have a big man that can spread the floor, you are not going to be able, you're going to have trouble scoring on us. That just is what it is. Because if you have a big man that is only going to allow Joe to be at the post, to be down low, and to alter everything, you're fucked. You're shit out of luck. Vucevic is someone who can pull Joe out of the paint and shoot threes, so you have a better chance with that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're going to be shit out of luck. And then in best case scenario is, even though with the Mavericks, they like to play Porzingis at the 4. You know what I mean? Same thing with the Lakers. They like to play AD at the 4. Well, it would behoove them to play AD. Well, no, because the Lakers can run up Marcus All, who can shoot 3. Same situation where you're going to have the Lakers are a pain in the ass. That's a nightmare matchup. But either way, the point is, Joe has been our best defensive player. I think Ben has been our second best defensive player. And I think, honestly, I don't want to say it's not close. That sounds disrespectful, but I think that it's clear. You know what I mean? I think, and maybe I'm wrong, just the way I understand basketball from how I understand what I'm watching, Joe cleans so much up in the paint. So many plays that where players are getting to the rim, have a free line to the rim, are getting completely redirected because Joe is already there. You know what I mean? Because Joe is there, and because they know that Joe is active defensively. So a million passes are getting redirected since Joe is down there. And that means that Ben is allowed to take more chances, allowed to be a little bit more aggressive if you're always going to have help defense there, right? If you're always going to have help defense, You're allowed to be as aggressive as you want, and that gives the perception that you're playing great perimeter. And it is. Let me be clear: pushing the person you're guarding, pushing him into help defense is good perimeter defense, right? It's good perimeter defense, no question about it. So I'm not trying to take credit away from Ben. But just the point that I think that when you view it in that scope, Ben's defense can't be Ben's defense without Joe down there. And if you're watching Joe and seeing how many passes he's deflecting, I mean, he's just blowing up so many offensive possessions. Joe is the best defensive player on our team. He's our MVP, no question. I mean, it's just no question, just dominant yesterday. What did he finish? I mean, he 1 for 2 from 3. He's shooting a career high at 3-point attempts. I think he's 38% right now after yesterday's game. 7 for 11 overall, 4 for 6 from free throw. We missed a lot of free throws yesterday. Ben 3 for 5, which it's not so surprising. We've seen Shake miss free throws. Maybe we didn't miss a lot of free throws, honestly. It just felt like we missed more. You see Joe miss 2 free throws. That's a surprise. You know what I mean? I thought he was active rebounding the ball. Just a great game. A great game from Joe. You know what I mean? 7 of 11. You know, he is tied for the 4th most field goal attempts in the starting line. I'm so full of shit. He's tied for the 3rd most field goal attempts on the whole team, but yet he's the most effective player. It's not even close. Toby, yo, man, nothing negative. That's game 2. Back-to-back games where I can't say anything negative about Toby. And I'm going to give him a little bit more credit in a second. Toby, again, what's the number one thing? This is what I said in the last game. Letting the game come to him on offense and on defense right now. Still grabbing rebounds. Again, let the game come to you, Toby. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to chase rebounds. Letting the game come to you. There was one play where I'll talk about Danny in a second. It's just that he made a play that was reminiscent of Toby during the Raptors game in the first quarter. But Toby allowing the game come to him. He has morphed as a passer because, again, he's just making easier passes. Now, he still finished with 5 turnovers. Joe and Toby both need some intervention when it comes to passing. Joe is a good Joe goes from, like, Toby to me is just a bad passer. You know what I mean? He's just a bad passer. Joe is someone who has these moments where he is an incredible passer, and then he has the moment in the 4th quarter where he has Toby wide open under the basket. I mean, he's standing 6 feet away from him and just sails the pin. Looks like Carson Wentz, just sailing one over the receiver's head, about to get him killed. You know, he just sails one over Toby's head, and Joe knows he fucked that one up. I mean, he was like talking to himself the whole way down the court. He couldn't believe he did it. Just a little bounce pass there behind. Listen, as someone as a post-basketball connoisseur here, you got the ball back to it. You see him a little behind the back bounce pass right there to Toby. You know, now we don't know if he can make that pass. I know he can make that pass. I've had a lot of conversations at the gym, me and my LA Fitness professional basketball players, about how passing requires confidence. You know what I mean? That's an underrated thing. Confidence, we always talk about basketball confidence when it just comes to shooting. Shooting requires a ton of confidence, sure. Defense requires confidence, for sure. If you already think you're beat, you're beat. Passing requires confidence, because if you start second-guessing every pass you're making, just like in the NFL, right? It's the same thing. If you're second-guessing every pass you're making, you're about to make a lot of bad passes. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to let it rip. Just let it rip. So they need a bit of an intervention there. 10 turnovers between those two is too much. 4 turnovers for Ben is a little bit high, but, I'll eat that considering how much he tends to have the ball in his hands. We got to get the turnovers down. I would say half of that is due to, Joe averages 4 turnovers a game for his career, which is crazy to think about. I mean, as great of a big man as he is, they're gonna be so confused one day when they're looking at these stats and they're like, how are you averaging 4 turnovers a game? It's like 3.6 or something like that. And to the credit what I'm about to make right now, half of that is not having consistent lineups every year. When you're constantly playing with new guys, you're going to get more turnovers. Because you don't know where guys want to be sometimes. Whatever it is, you're just not sure. You're just a little uncertain. When you have a little continuity, those turnovers will go down as the offense flows. So the point being, So that's really the only negative thing I have to say about Toby. Toby finished with 3 blocks, even though that's kind of surprising. Just like the game before, I think he had a few blocks. Some of those blocks are because Joe's there. It's just like I said about having intimidator. When Joe's there, it's going to be a little bit easier. But to Toby's credit, Toby was very active on defense yesterday. 4 steals and 3 blocks. He was super duper active. I thought he was consistent. Played very consistent defense. He kind of went back and forth from guarding Hayward to guarding PJ Washington at times, and then they would go small. And they went out with a lot of lineups. I thought that Toby did a good job. Gordon Hayward Gordon Hayward has nights where he's an elite offensive player and nights where he's just an average, but his basement is an average offensive player and his ceiling is elite offensive player. And I thought Toby did a pretty good job guarding him. I have nothing negative to say about his defense. I think, again, what he did was capitalize. He did a good job being active, being in tune. Sometimes guys are sleepwalking through games. I thought Toby did a great job being active and being alert on defense, so that when Joe is in the right position and is forcing them to make bad passes or forcing them into bad positions, Toby is right there to capitalize. And I thought he did a great job. His individual defense, I thought his offense, listen, and I talked about this last game, right? One, he has the dunk of the year. I don't know how Toby is funny. These guys must be listening to my podcast. Either listening to my podcast, all right, it's one of two things. They're either listening to my podcast or I am just so damn smart. And it's true, I am smart, but I am just so fucking far and away on point here that what I'm talking about here maybe is being talked about or being joked about or being said somewhere else. I said Toby is not explosive. Toby said, I'm not explosive. Watch this shit. And dunks all over Biyombo. Listen, that's a hell of a dunk. Biyombo is a good shot blocker. He's long as all hell. I mean, you see his arms. He could hug the world. He could hug the world. He loves it so much. His arms are so long so he can love stronger. A man filled with so much love that they gave him the longest arms to hug mankind. And Toby yammed all over it. He did not love that. Toby yammed all over him. I mean, that was a dunk. They're saying that Terry Rozier dunked on KD. He kind of sort of did. KD is coming from behind and trying to contest. Okay, I can see why people say he's dunking on him. What Toby did yesterday is much closer, is a lot closer to Pippen dunking on Ewing than it is to Terry Rozier dunking on KD. You know what I mean? That was a hell of a dunk. Again, not thinking, just playing. Shooting lights out right now. 4 for 7. Are you kidding me? Toby, that's what we wanted you to do, baby. That's all you had to do, bro. Just shoot. Catch it and shoot it. And he's letting them fly. His shot right now looks wet. You know what I mean? He looks like he's not going to miss again. And listen, we've seen Toby go. No, that's not even true. We've seen Toby have go hot and then go cold, right? We've seen that. But I've never seen Toby play the way he's playing right now. You know what I mean? Just simplifying the game. And I'm guessing that's Doc. Doc's specialty, I'm going to give Doc some credit and take a little credit away from. I'm just going to misdirect some credit is what I'm going to do here. And I might be wrong, but if you see Doc from the Celtics going to the Clippers coming here, it's 3 completely, totally different offenses. All right, it's 3 totally different offenses. Now, the easy answer is to say, well, you have different personnel. That's true. I would argue that is 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 different offensive focused coaches. And I think Dave Yerger is the one who's running our offense. And if you know me, I'm a big Dave Yerger fan. The problem with Dave Yerger, apparently, and I don't know how true this was, if Dave Yerger was coaching the Kings for that brief period of time before Boogie got hurt, they were winning. They were like 5-3, then Boogie goes down, and then when it doesn't go good, and they fired Dave Yerger, and Boogie really, really had an affinity for Dave Yerger, just whatever. Dave Yerger then ends up going to coach Memphis, and it doesn't work out, even though Memphis is in the middle of maybe they're rebuilding, maybe they're not, whatever. It doesn't work out. And now he's our assistant coach. Dave Yerger is a hell of a basketball mind. I think that a lot of our offense is a lot of credit to Dave Yerger. I think I could be wrong, but what is happening with Toby is a reformation to his mental, what he is, the mentality he's going into games with, and that is Doc. That is what Doc does. That is Doc's specialty. Doc's specialty is getting seemingly adverse personalities to work together. That's how Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan all worked together that long, when it was clear by the end it had become glaringly obvious that Chris Paul pretty much hated Blake and DeAndre because, they were jokey and, whatever. And Chris Paul is a lunatic when it comes to wanting to win. Lunatic, the word of the day. The other day this is mad off topic. This is me flexing my brain. The word lunatic, I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, I was listening to the Joker podcast. I was like, where does the word lunatic come from? And then you break it down in Latin, right? And you say, oh, luna means moon, and tic is like, I think tic means like an action. So I looked it up, and boom, that's right. Yeah. People back in the day used to think that the moon, which is where werewolves come from, people think there's a full moon. People start acting crazy. Well, that's what a lunatic is. Anyway, that's not the point. Just a little bit of knowledge for that ass. One time for your mind, one time. So anyway, point being, and Toby, so that's what Doc does well, right? He reaches into people's, their mindsets going into games, and he gets them to come out that shell and play the right way. And Toby is playing the right way right now, not thinking, just shooting. This game, you could argue, was just as good. I would say this might be even this was a better game than the Magic game because it gets a little gritty. Listen, the Hornets aren't particularly good, but they've been scrappy all year. And they have a lot of guys. They have a lot of offensive prowess at different times. Guys like Terry Rozier can go off. He already had his career high this year. This is his second career high, I believe. Guys like Devontae can go off. Guys like P.J. Washington can have moments. Miles can have moments. Gordon Hayward obviously can have moments. They didn't have Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller's been shooting really well from three. So they have guys. They have guys there. And they just, and they make it really in the third quarter. They start making it a little tense. Full court defense. Oh, LaMelo. Listen, I've watched LaMelo a few times, but not as closely as I watched him yesterday. LaMelo is a far better defender than I realized. I'll say that. I mean, he just really gets into he can get a little crazy. He's like Asante Samuel for Eagles fans, right? Who is someone who's like, his man-to-man might not be as nice, but he just knows where the ball is and his anticipation is on point. And because of that, LaMelo, you see very often on weak side rebounds, LaMelo comes and strips the ball. He does it often. You know what I mean? That's going to be in the game notes going forward for guys. Watch weak side. LaMelo's going to try. Anytime LaMelo's on the floor, he's trying to get a steal. You know what I mean? And he causes issues. I got to give him credit. So when they were running those little full court presses, it was discombobulating us a bit. Ultimately the second, third, and fourth quarter are pretty much tied. You know what I mean? It's the first quarter where we take that big lead and carry it throughout the game. But that's a testament to us. They hit us with their best shot, and all we did was sit there and trade blows, and we won the game. You know what I mean? We won the game. That's like a boxer going up 7 rounds to none, and then at the last 5 rounds, that boxer, you're starting to trade blows. And they're looking for a knockout punch that never comes. So I thought that they're a scrappy team, and I thought we did a great job answering that scrappiness back with our own prowess. So Toby played great. I thought Toby played great. So you could argue this was a better game just because based on the Magic just didn't show up. We ran them off the court from minute 1 to minute 4. From minute 1 to minute 48. Charlotte, we ran them off the court in the first quarter, and then they hit us with their best shot, and we just didn't fold. You know what I mean? And Toby kept making big plays throughout the game. Toby played great. Nothing negative to say about Toby. Toby, you played fucking great. I don't know that you'll ever make up your contract, but if you're playing this way the rest of your tenure of that contract, you will have earned at least that no one will talk about it. No one will talk about it as an albatross. People will be like, yeah, he makes a lot of money, but he's playing well. He's playing really good. Is he worth that much money? Well, that's, whatever, but he's playing good. It's going to be the type of contract that's like, well, let's look at the advanced metrics on him. Okay, his advanced plus minus and defensive plus minus and this and that are actually good. So you know what I mean? It's going to be that type of contract. Seth, man, Seth, nothing is making me happier than Seth Curry right now. It's like Seth heard me say that he wasn't as good as Josh and said, I'll fucking show you. Just like Toby said, I'm not explosive, bitch. I wish Ben would get that message. But anyway, it's like, I'm not explosive. Watch this shit. I'm going to yam all over these motherfuckers right here. Seth is like, I'm not as good as Josh. Oh, we'll see about that. Listen, Seth is playing. And listen, you know what? Hold up real quick. Hold up real quick. Hold up real quick. Let's see what Seth is averaging here. I just want to see. Seth averaging 16, 2, and 4. I want to look up Josh Richardson's numbers. And look, the argument is always going to be that Josh right now, Josh is a better defender, and that's without a question. But Seth is playing good defense. You know what I mean? Like, Seth is playing good defense. It's not fair to say, actually, according to the stats right now, Seth is definitely having a better offensive season right now. What is he shooting? 45%, 31% from three. He was shooting better. Right now, there's no argument for me. My argument is in the trash. Seth is playing extremely well. He's not just shooting well. I mean, he's shooting 55% from three right now this season. It's crazy. His offensive game has really, really come along. I mean, I don't know if it's because other teams just wouldn't depend on him. Look at the teams he went from. He went from the Blazers that have two elite ball handlers and CJ and Dame, right? With Dame and CJ, I shouldn't say CJ and Dame. That's not. I did it alphabetically. C comes before D. CJ and Dame, right? Two elite ball handlers. There's no reason at that time for Seth to be handling the ball at length. Then he goes to the Mavericks, and he ends up getting there at a time when they get Luka. Jalen Brunson is a really good ball handler. They have JJ Barea coming off the bench last year. But ultimately, Luka, everything's going to go through Luka. So there's no reason for Seth to be handling the ball at length there. But now he's in a situation where he's being asked to do a lot more than he's shown throughout his career. And he's showing that he can do it. He's showing that he has the ability to do that, to be a point guard. Not just a guard, but not just some combo guard, but he can actually be a point guard. That he can be Steph light. He can be a poor man Steph. I mean, a couple nice crossovers, a couple really nice finishes in the lane. Impeccable shooting touch on catch and shoot right now. He looks incredible, man. He looks great. He looks like someone who deserves. I said this yesterday. Listen, he would lose to Colin Sexton, but he right now looks like the most improved player. I think, and the reason, you know why I'm going to say that? Storylines play a huge role in MVP, and it doesn't play as much role as it does in most improved. No, that's not true. Storylines do play a role in most improved player. Colin Sexton was averaging 20 a game last year, right? Colin, I don't think people expected Colin to be great, but Colin has more. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Someone who has some man, I can't think of the word. People do have expectations for him, right? He has that prestige to him that he is like a high lottery pick. He should be something. Seth is someone who's been quit on, is someone who had to earn his way in, was just the Curry brother. And now all of a sudden is playing himself he is a legit through this first beginning of the season. He is a legitimate starting point guard in the NBA. He is a legitimate starting point. He went from at best he's a backup to he is a legit starting point guard right now. You know what I mean? Legit. So credit to him. I mean, he's playing fucking fantastic. He's making me so happy to watch him. But I really am enjoying watching Seth Curry play right now. And his demeanor fits right in. His demeanor is exactly what you want to see, man. He's just someone he looks like someone who had to go through the bullshit. He looks like if Andy Dufresne got a traffic ticket. You know what I mean? Andy Dufresne, who had to crawl through 100 yards of shit to come out clean on the other side, right? Shout out to Shawshank. Imagine if he gets a traffic ticket. You think he gives a fuck about them? I went through this shit. Man, y'all put me in jail, right? I've been out. Give me this traffic ticket. Get the fuck out of my face. Right? That's what he looks like. He's just ice cold right now. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything. Nothing is going to get him shaken. You know what I mean? He looks so steady. This is probably the happiest I've been with a free agent signing in a while. Like free agent signing / trade piece in a while. You know what I mean? That I'm like immediately, like there's a question mark for 1 or 2 games. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, wow, this guy's excellent. I take it all back. I am so sorry. I was wrong. Seth is playing great. Ben, Ben had a triple-double yesterday. Played good defense for sure, no question. But I can't say nothing negative about his defense. Offensively, he still sucks. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? Just what did he finish? 6 for 9. Um, just not a lot to say about it. That's special. You know what I mean? Just not. But you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot something. That Ben's first quarter is his best passing quarter of the season, in my opinion. That was the first quarter Ben was the Ben that I recognized from last year, 2 years ago, where I'm like, this dude is such a good passer. The first few games of the season, he just was just the guy who was just giving someone else the ball. Yesterday, he was a guy who was creating offense in certain parts where I'm seeing him post up here and throwing a cross-court pass, or there's that one. It was that resulted in a deep Seth three where he's coming up, bounce pass, set a screen. Seth comes in, hits the three, which is great basketball decisions by Ben. Ben is that was yesterday's Ben's best. Yesterday was Ben's best passing game of the season, and that first quarter was the best passing quarter and definitely the best passing quarter of the season. But yesterday was his best passing game, I thought. It's like he heard LaMelo was a great passer, and he decided that he would be a great passer today. So I think listen, Ben played well. It's just that in terms of scoring, he just. But because of Seth, because of the way Seth is playing, I think what we're going to start seeing, I think this might be the seesaw of things. I think this is where things land. This is the Ben we should expect. You know what I mean? Where because we have Seth, he's able to take a lot of pressure off of Ben. One, he gives Ben an outlet of someone who can shoot. He gives Ben and Joe an outlet. I'm going to shoot. Toby playing like this gives the same outlet. Danny shooting like this, same thing, right? If all these guys are going to be shooting like this, Ben can really settle into what his role should be, which is what are those knives? Man, you know what? TJ told me what the knife was called yesterday, and I forgot what it was again. Like those pocket knives that have a million different utensils attached to them, right? That's what Ben wants to be. You know what I mean? It's someone who's going to play great defense, score here and there, grab rebounds, run an offense, and fill gaps. Just do things to fill gaps. Make sure there are no leaks in the ship. Joe is the guy who is the ship. He's carrying the ship, and then everyone else is on board that ship. And Ben is the conductor and the mechanic, making sure things are not falling apart. And that is going to be Ben's role. I think that's what Ben's ultimate role is probably going to be. Maybe that's the best he's going to be. Maybe you don't want to fuck with that. Listen, we beat Orlando and we beat Charlotte. It's nothing to write home about per se, but good teams beat bad teams, right? That is a thing that has to happen. In the previous few years, we lose these games. All the time we lose these games. This is the first time in 2 years I feel confident playing Charlotte and saying we're going to win this game. You know what I mean? So maybe that's Ben's role. Maybe that's ultimately what Ben's going to be. Maybe we shouldn't expect so much out of Ben offensively. Listen, it's been 5 years. This is who Ben is. Let's just be clear. This is Ben. This is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is not going to be some elite offensive player. He's a player who can get you 25 on certain nights, 30 if he's feeling it from the free throw line. But for the most part, he's going to be this guy, 14, 9 and 9, something like that. And it's going to be interesting judging a player like that. I can't think of a lot of players with those numbers who finish with that many rebounds, that many assists, and that many points. There's just not a lot of guys like that through the regular season. You know what I mean? So we'll see. It's going to be interesting judging how he's judged in the long run. It'd be a lot more obvious if it was 17, 9 and 8, something like that, right? It's almost Scottie Pippen-ish, but he's not going to be that probably for his career. But we'll see. What do I know? What do I know? I'm just a guy. Danny, I thought played. But you know what? There was one thing I wanted to say about Toby. Give him more credit. I'm sorry. Let me go 2 players ago. There was one play in the third quarter, I want to say, where Toby looked like he was about to draw my ire and do too much. He was suffering from a doing too much spasm. And he ended up stopping himself from doing too much and actually passing it out. And that made me happy. That made me believe that someone that Doc yelled at him for doing too much, and Toby had PTSD for a moment. He saw, fuck, I'm doing too much, and he passed it out. You know what I mean? And that made me really happy to see. Let the game come to you. We don't want you creating offense. The other thing, too, is, this is where I think that Zoo and Ala and most I think announcing crews, this is going to sound like some ageism, but what I'm about to say right here is going to sound like some ageism. A lot of these older players that played in the 80s, 90s are the ones that are your color comments, your color analyst for these games. So they speak to an older view, right? For example, going back to what I talked about in the previous podcast regarding Giannis shooting threes and not keeping the defense honest. Well, according to your point per possession and your offensive rating, it may not actually be keeping people that honest. That the way we talk about basketball has to continue to evolve, and until we have like some younger blood infused, I think, inside those announcing teams, maybe I don't know all that goes into it, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But yesterday they talked about, we had at one point we had 30 assists on 38 field goals, and they were like, that's a great mark of sharing the ball. And in reality, it's an okay mark of sharing the ball, but it doesn't actually tell the story, because all you're saying is that one person made a pass to a basket and that's it. That doesn't mean they're sharing the ball, because you could have James Harden and Russell Westbrook alone get 30 assists on 38 field goals. Does that mean that offense was them sharing the ball, or does it mean that these two guys had the ball in their hands the whole game and were getting assists because of it? Right? That doesn't mean they're sharing the ball. That doesn't tell the story. The real story, which is another stat I should have looked at before I brought in, and I'm going to try to find those stats before the next podcast. The real stat would be how many passes are happening per positive possession, right? Per field goal, how many passes are happening? Are we averaging? Because it seems like we're averaging 4, maybe even 5, 4, but between, I would say between like 3.5 to 5 passes, something like that per scored field goal, and that is the mark, right? That's the Spurs offense that everyone is so in love with, or even the Warriors offense at their best, is this ball zips to 3 or 4 guys. 3 or 4 guys are touching the ball, and then boom, results in a made basket. That is an offense. That right there is the offense, right? 30 assists doesn't tell the whole story. How many passes before that assist becomes an assist? How many of these positions how many of those possessions have hockey assists? Because a James Harden assist never comes with a hockey assist, right? There was never someone that passed it to James and James passed it to someone else. Not never, but the point is most of James' assists are going to come on him dribbling the ball, blah, 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 pass, assist. Same thing with LeBron James, same thing with Russ, same thing with Chris Paul, right? How many of these assists are coming? And you see it here, right? It really, you see a good spread here, because what you're seeing is Ben has 11 assists. Danny has 4 assists. Toby, 6 assists. Joe has 4 assists. Seth has 6 assists. Tyrese, 2. Shake, 2. Matisse, 2. People are moving the ball. That's telling you the story. People are moving the ball. Saying that we had 30 assists doesn't tell the story completely. You know what I mean? So that, like, things like that are things that I feel like people should be evolving in, because you could just hear that and it doesn't tell you everything. But understanding that there was 3 or 4 passes that led to this made basket tells you a far better story about how the offense is. This is the best offense we've run in 2 years. Not even close. We're moving the ball better than we ever have. I'm very surprised. Again, this is a credit to Doc. I don't think Doc is the one running the offense or installing the offense, but Doc, I think, is the one who gets these guys to invest into each other this way, that they're making the extra pass. Everyone on the court is making the extra pass. You know what I mean? Every one of them. So I just wanted to throw that out there. My little advanced basketball advanced advanced AP, basketball AP that I want to talk about. Tyrese, let's go Shake. Shake played well yesterday, I thought. Free afraid from 3. He's still struggling from 3. He's shooting a career low. Well, I don't know if you want to call it a career low. It's not like he's played that long. But what's his shooting percentage right now? I know it's in the dumps. Yesterday it would have come up a bit, but I'm sorry. That's the music I'm playing when I'm rushing to find the advanced stats here. Why is this screen different than the other screens? Why is this screen different than the other screens? I mean, I could probably do this math, but I'm not going. So, I mean, listen, you see it. You see it right here. These are not, this is paltry at best. That's paltry at best. Anyway, let's go to stats here. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Shake. averaging, 29% from three. Last year he averaged 43%. His rookie year he averaged 32%. He's struggling right now. Yesterday, like I said, it would come up. It's definitely because of yesterday. It bounced up a little bit. He shot pretty good. I thought the thing that was really impressive was his. We know Shake is a good finisher though, but he had that one finish on Terry. I mean, Terry was draped all over him, and at first I thought it was like, what the fuck are you doing, Shake? But then he finished it. That was impressive. That happened in the first quarter. I thought Shake played well yesterday. You know what I mean? I thought defensively he played. Shake works on defense. That's one thing you can say for sure about Shake. He works his ass off on defense. I don't think he's a bad defender by any metric. I've heard people question his defense. He's not Chris Paul or Kyle Lowry, sure, but he works on defense. I thought Tyrese played well yesterday, looked confident. Tyrese doesn't look like he gets shook. He's still shooting three. He hit his first three yesterday. And the thing I'll say about Tyrese is his jumper looks fine. Like when Zaire was sucking, and when Fultz was not playing well, we looked at their jumpers and we were like, oh, God. Same thing with Matisse. We'll talk about him in a second, right? You look at their jumpers and you're like, oh, wow, you'll never be able to make a shot. But Tyrese's jumper looks fine. So I don't really think he has an actual issue. I think he just maybe has to get used to the NBA game, moves a little. He's fast, but when you get to the pros and you realize everyone's fast too, except you're faster, but they're also all fast, then, you're realizing it's coming at you pretty fast, right? Other than that, though, I thought he played well. And I think he's a solid defender, too, man. Tyrese works on defense, so I like Tyrese. Shake played well again. Matisse came back down to earth, played one good game. His offense sucks, though. He still can't shoot. I expected nothing less. I thought defensively he did play well, though. I thought defensively he played well, but he just, man, his offense is it's rough. It's rough watching him play offense. Dwight played pretty good. Trying to think, Dwight played. What I liked about what I saw from Dwight yesterday specifically was, again, I thought yesterday Joe's defense was some of the best defense of the season. And it felt to me like when Dwight came in, he had recognized that, and he was also really, really active on defense. I thought he had really active hands yesterday on defense. And Dwight, 3 for 4 from free throw line. That's great. You know what I mean? That's exactly what you need. I think that was a great game. We play Charlotte again tomorrow night. Is there anything special about Charlotte? Hold on, about their numbers. Gordon finished 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Gordon's a good player. PJ, nothing special. Terry lit us up. He always does. LaMelo played well yesterday, too, for those who are invested into LaMelo's career. He played well. Like I said, the most impressive thing to me was his defense. I thought he looked really, really good on defense. That's it. Nothing special to talk about on Charlotte. They're scrappy, so we're going to play them again. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow's game's a lot closer. Like I said, they're scrappy, so I wouldn't be surprised if they come out tomorrow a little scrappier. And that's it. And listen, home and homes are nothing new, because people keep getting things confused. I hear people talking about, these 2-game sets. I mean, these 2-game series are like unheard of. And it's like, no, we've been doing home and homes for a while, where you go to New York and play the Knicks, and then New York on the next game comes here and we play them here. That's nothing new. What's a little bit different here is that Charlotte is playing us here twice. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that's different. They're playing us here twice, as opposed to a situation where we're going now to Charlotte to play them. So that's the only thing that's different. Don't let guys confuse you. People are talking about these 2-game series like it's never happened in the NBA. Home and homes have been happening for a million years now. So that's all I got, everyone. That was a pretty short episode, maybe. I don't know. I get long-winded. I think that I talked for 20 minutes, and it turns out I talked for 40. That's it, everyone. We'll see Charlotte again on Monday. Everyone take care. They'll wash your hands. Well, today's Sunday. I'm recording it today. So by the time you hear this, we're playing them tonight. Wash your hands, everyone. You know the drill. COVID sucks. Social distance. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. That's it. Take care.
Yo. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come